After paying for her daughter's college, my girlfriend screamed, "She's not your daughter. You just the wallet." I packed my things in silence, then disappeared. I cancelled every card, every account, and left one text. "Congratulations. The wallet is closed." Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I never minded paying. That was the mistake I made right from the beginning. I equated providing with loving. And I assumed that if I gave enough of the former, I would eventually receive the latter. I'm Otter Zolter. I work in logistics. High stress. High yield. Very unsexy. I've been with Elena Sanchabar for 5 years. When I met her, she was a single mum, struggling to make ends meet as a receptionist while dealing with an ex-husband who was a free spirit. That's code for a guy who plays bass in a dive bar, pays 0 child support, but is still considered the cool dad because he lets his daughter smoke weed and stay up all night. I stepped in when Maya was 14. It wasn't an easy age. I didn't try to force myself on her as a father figure. I just tried to be the stable rock in a sea of chaos. I paid off Elena's credit card debt. I moved them out of a cramped 2-bedroom apartment into a spacious house in a good school district. I put braces on Maya's teeth. Bought her first car. A safe, reliable Honda. Not the Jeep she wanted. And for the last year and a half, I've been paying full tuition for her private university. We're talking $30. Nol a semester. Not loans. Cash. My cash, for a long time, I told myself that the lack of gratitude was just a teenage phase. I told myself that Elena was just stressed. But looking back, I was just ignoring the rot because I wanted the family dynamic to work. The cracks didn't just appear overnight. They were always there. I just kept plastering over them with money. But the reality check hit me like a freight train last Tuesday. I took them out to dinner at a high-end steakhouse to celebrate Maya finishing her midterms. It wasn't a cheap night. Easily a $400 tab coming my way. We sat down, and immediately the phones came out. Elena was texting furiously, smiling at her screen in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. Maya had her AirPods in, scrolling through TikTok. So I said, trying to force eye contact, "How did the history final go? You were worried about that one." Maya didn't look up. She didn't even remove an AirPod. She just shrugged. Fine. Just fine. You studied all week for it." She finally looked at me. And the look wasn't one of a daughter looking at a stepdad. It was the look of a customer annoyed by a waiter. "It's over." "Okay. Can we not talk about school? I'm trying to relax. I'm just taking an interest." "Maya," I said, keeping my voice level, "you're interrogating me." She snapped. Then, without missing a beat, she pivoted. "By the way, for spring break, the girls are booking this villa in Cabo. I need the deposit by Friday. It's Doy's grand." I put my fork down. $2,000, Maya. I just wrote a check for next semester's tuition. And we just fixed your car's transmission. $2,000 for a week of partying is a lot to ask right now. I looked at Elena, expecting backup. Expecting her to say, "He's right. Honey, that's too much." Elena didn't even look up from her phone. She was typing a long paragraph to someone. "Oh, come on, OP," she said dismissively, waving a hand at me without making eye contact. "Don't be a killjoy. She's worked hard. She deserves a break. You can afford it. It's not about if I can afford it, Elena. It's about the fact that she didn't ask. She demanded. And she hasn't even said hello to me tonight before asking for money." Maya rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd detach. "You don't get to lecture me about manners." She sneered, leaning over the table. "You pay for things. That's the deal. Don't act like you're doing me a favor just so you can hold it over my head. It's pathetic." The table went silent. I waited. I waited for Elena to drop her phone. I waited for her to reprimand her daughter for speaking to the man who literally put the clothes on her back like he was garbage. Elena finally looked up. She sighed, looking annoyed, not at Maya, but at me. Stop creating drama in public. Elena hissed. She's stressed. Just pay the deposit and let's have a nice dinner. You're being so controlling lately. Then, the waiter arrived with the bill. He placed a black leather folder in the center of the table. Neither of them moved. They didn't even flinch. Maya went back to TikTok. Elena went back to her text conversation. They sat there in comfortable silence, fully expecting my hand to reach out and handle it because that's what I was to them. I wasn't a partner. I wasn't a father figure. I was a utility. Like electricity or water, you don't thank the light switch for turning on. You only get mad when it doesn't work. I picked up the check. I paid it. But as I signed that receipt, something in my chest turned cold. I looked at Elena, smiling at her phone screen. And I realized two things simultaneously. One, she wasn't texting a girlfriend. And two, I was done being the utility. The days following that dinner were suffocating. The silence in the house wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, loaded with unsaid resentments. I pulled back, testing the waters. I stopped initiating conversations. I stopped asking about their day. And just as I suspected, neither of them noticed. As long as the fridge was stocked and the internet was on, I was a ghost in my own home. The confirmation I didn't want but needed came 3 nights later. Elena has always been terrible with technology. I bought us both iPads that are synced to our iPhones, mostly so she could read her chaotic magazines on a bigger screen. She usually leaves hers on the kitchen island. I walked into the kitchen at 1100 p.m. to get water. The iPad lit up with a notification. It was a text, not from a girlfriend, but from G-Man. I knew who G-Man was. Gary, her ex. The musician who hadn't paid a dime of child support in a decade because he was investing in his art. The preview on the lock screen was enough to stop my heart. Just hold on a little longer. Babe, let the bank cover the tuition. Then you can bail. We just need him for 6 more months. My hands didn't shake. I didn't feel the rush of adrenaline I expected. I just felt a cold, clinical clarity. I unlocked the iPad. She never changed the passcode I set up for her. And scrolled. It was all there. Months of it. They were mocking me. He's so boring. Gary. He talks about 401ks, like it's foreplay. I miss a real man. Someone with fire. He's just convenient. Don't worry. I'll make sure he pays the deposit for Carbo before I start the fight. I took screenshots. I emailed them to myself. Then I put the iPad down and waited. The next morning, Saturday, was the day I was supposed to write the check for the spring semester. Elena and Maya were in the kitchen laughing over smoothies. A blender I bought. Fruit I paid for. We need to talk. I said. I was standing in the doorway, holding my coffee. Elena sighed, her shoulders dropping dramatically. Oh God. It's Saturday. Can we not do the budget talk right now? It's not a budget talk, I said, walking to the counter. It's a reality talk. I saw the text from Gary. The room went dead silent. Maya stopped drinking her smoothie. She looked at her mother, then at me, her eyes narrowing. She didn't look ashamed. She looked annoyed that she'd been caught. Elena turned slowly, her face flushed, but not with guilt, with anger. You went through my phone. You violated my privacy. You left it on the counter. And frankly, considering I pay for the iPad, the data plan, and the roof over your head, I think I'm entitled to know why you're planning my exit strategy with your ex-husband. He understands me. Elena shouted, slamming her hand on the counter. He listens to me? You treat this relationship like a spreadsheet. You think because you buy things, you own us. I think because I buy things, I deserve respect. I'm paying $30. 000 next week for a girl who won't even look me in the eye. I said, looking at Maya, Mia scoffed. Don't bring me into this. That money is for my education. You can't just dangle it over me. It's not a right. Maya. It's a gift. And I'm thinking of withholding it until I figure out where I stand in this house. That was the trigger. Elena stepped into my personal space. her face twisted in a sneer I had never seen before. It was the face of someone who had lost all fear of consequences because she believed she was untouchable. "You aren't withholding anything," she screamed, spitting the words at me. "You don't get to make decisions for her. You don't have rights here. She's not your daughter. You're just the wallet. That's your role. That is the only reason you are here. So, shut up. Write the check. And stick to your role." I looked at Maya. I expected her to flinch. I expected her to say, "Mum, that's too far." Maya looked at me, smirked, and took a sip of her smoothie. "She's right." Maya said casually, "You're not my dad. Stop trying to act like it. Just pay the tuition and leave us alone." It was the most liberating moment of my life. The confusion vanished. The guilt vanished. The hope that we could fix this vanished. I looked at Elena. I looked at Maya. I nodded slowly. Understood. I said softly, "I didn't realize the terms were that specific. I'll stick to my role." Elena let out a smug puff of air, thinking she'd bullied me into submission. Good. Now get out of my face. I didn't leave that day. That would have been emotional. That would have been messy. A wallet doesn't have emotions. A wallet is transactional, and I had transactions to close. I played the part of the beaten dog for 3 days. I apologized for snooping. I told them I was just stressed about work. I wrote the check for the tuition and left it on the counter, knowing full well it wouldn't be mailed until Friday. I even suggested they take a weekend trip to cool off, go to the spa. I told Elena, "Take Maya. My treat? I'll stay here and work so I don't annoy you." She didn't hesitate. She didn't even say thank you. She just took the credit card, the Platinum MX with my name on it, and booked a luxury resort 2 hours away. They left on Friday morning. As soon as their car, the car I paid the insurance on, turned the corner, I started the timer. I didn't smash anything. I didn't cut up their clothes. That's what angry people do. I wasn't angry. I was closing a business division that was operating at a loss. I had hired a moving company that specializes in distressed exits. They arrived at 900 AM. By 11:30 AM. My home office was empty. My clothes were gone. My personal electronics, my books, my grill from the back patio, anything that I had brought into the relationship or bought for myself was packed into a truck. I left the furniture I bought for them. I left the TVs. I left the food in the fridge. I didn't want them to have the satisfaction of calling me petty. I wanted them to realize that the infrastructure remained, but the power source had been cut. Then I sat down on the floor of the empty living room and made the calls. Call 1. The landlord. Hi. This is Mark. I'm invoking the lease break clause. I've transferred the penalty fee to your account. I am removing myself as the guarantor effective immediately. Elena will be taking over the lease solely. If she can't qualify, that's up to your policy. Result: the lease required an income of 3x the rent. Elena made barely 1x. She would be receiving a vacate notice by Monday. Call 2. American Express and Visa. I need to report my cards lost. Please issue new numbers and send them to my new address. Also, remove all authorized users immediately. Result: the card Elena was currently using at the resort spa would decline the moment they tried to check out or order room service. Call 3. The bank. I logged into our joint savings account. I looked at the balance. 600 yen. Ling, ling, ling. Every cent had come from my direct deposit. Elena used her paycheck for her money. I transferred $42. 000 to my personal account at a different bank. Balance. Ling Mei Yuan. Call for the university bursa. This was the one that felt like surgery. Preciso. Necessary. Hello. This is Mark. Last name. I wrote check number 49 for Maya. Last name S. Tuition. I am placing a stop payment on that check. I am also formally rescinding my signature from the guarantor documents for her housing and meal plan for the upcoming semester. The clerk paused. Sir, if you do that, her registration will be flagged. She'll be dropped from her classes on Monday if payment isn't replaced. I understand. I said, she's aware of the situation. It was done. I walked out of the house. I left my key on the kitchen counter, right next to the empty spot where the iPad usually sat. I got into my car and drove. I drove for an hour until I was well out of the city limits, heading toward a temporary rental I'd booked in a quiet town nearby. My phone buzzed. A notification from the bank app. Transaction declined. Resort, spa and wellness. Subaushmayen. It had begun. I pulled over to the side of the road. I opened a group text with Elena and Maya. I didn't want to write a novel. I didn't want to explain my feelings. I simply wanted to confirm that I had listened to them. I typed, "You were right." I realized I was confusing my role. A wallet doesn't have a family. A wallet doesn't have a daughter. A wallet is an object. And when a wallet is empty or mistreated, it closes. I have cancelled the cards. I have cancelled the lease. I have stopped the tuition payment. You wanted to be independent of me. Congratulations. The wallet is closed. I hit send. Then I went to settings. Elena. Block caller. Maya. Block caller. I threw the phone on the passenger seat. Merged back onto the highway. And for the first time in 5 years, I breathed air that didn't cost me a cent. The first week was strange. I kept checking my phone, expecting the explosion. I expected the barrage of texts, the calls from unknown numbers, the threats. But there was nothing, just a clean black screen. I had changed my number the day I left. A precaution I hadn't thought necessary until the last minute. I stayed in an Airbnb on the other side of the county, a quiet loft above a bakery. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. I didn't wake up wondering if I'd forgotten to pay a bill. I didn't wake up worrying about Maya's grades or Elena's moods. But while my world was quiet, I knew theirs was burning. I didn't need to see it to know it was happening. It was simple math. I had removed the foundation of a house built on sand. About 3 weeks in, the silence broke. Not from them, but from a mutual friend. Sarah. Sarah had always sided with Elena during our minor spats, usually giving me the happy wife, happy life speech. She cornered me coming out of my office building. She looked frantic. "Mark, my God, I've been trying to find you for weeks. Elena is losing her mind." I didn't stop walking. I'm sure she is. "Sarah, it's stressful being an independent woman." Sarah joked to keep up. "This isn't funny. Do you know what happened at the resort? The police were called." Mark. The hotel held them for hours because the card declined. Elena had to call her mother to bail them out over a $1 null bill. It was humiliating. I stopped and looked at her. It sounds like a terrible misunderstanding. She should have used her own card. She doesn't have money like that. And you know it. Sarah snapped. And the apartment, the landlord gave them 3 days to pay or quit. They're sleeping on Gary's floor. A 40-year-old woman sleeping on a mattress on the floor of a studio apartment. I actually laughed. A dry, humorless sound. Wait. Gary. I thought Gary was the soulmate. I thought he was the one who understood her. Shouldn't he be happy to provide for his family? Sarah's face fell. Gary kicked them out yesterday. He said he didn't sign up for baggage. He thought Elena was getting a settlement from you. When he found out you weren't married and she had no claim to your assets, he dumped her. And Maya, I asked. This was the only question that held any weight for me. She was registered, Sarah whispered. She showed up to class on Monday, and security escorted her out because her tuition wasn't cleared. She lost the semester mark. She's working at a Starbucks now. Good. I said. Sarah recoiled. How can you be so cruel? You raised that girl? No. I corrected her, my voice turning to ice. I financed that girl. There is a difference. I was told very clearly that I was not her father. I was told I was a wallet. Well, the wallet was stolen. Sarah. And when a wallet is stolen, you cancel the cards. That's not cruelty. That's security. I turned and walked to my car. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel glee. I felt the satisfying click of a ledger finally balancing out. 3 months passed. I had bought a small condo downtown. Something modern. Minimal. Just for me. I traded in the family SUV for a coupe I'd wanted since college. I was rebuilding my savings faster than I anticipated. Mostly because I wasn't bleeding $5,000 a month on lifestyle maintenance for 3 people. I was at a car wash on a Saturday morning, waiting for my car to be detailed. I was drinking a coffee, reading a book, enjoying the sun. You look happy. The voice was raspy, broken. I lowered my book. Elena was standing 5 feet away. She looked 10 years older. Her roots were showing grey streaks she used to spend $300 a month to hide. She was wearing jeans that looked too big for her and a t-shirt I recognized from 3 years ago. Maya was standing behind her, staring at the ground, her arms crossed defensively. I didn't stand up. I am happy. Elena. Hello. We saw the new car, she said, gesturing vaguely toward the detailing bay. Must be nice. It is. It drives very smoothly. We're living in a motel, she blurted out, the facade cracking instantly. Tears welled up in her eyes. My mum couldn't take us in. Gary is gone. I lost the receptionist job because I was so stressed I missed shifts. We have nothing. Mark. Maya looked up then. Her eyes were red. Dad. Please. I can't work at Starbucks forever. I need to go back to school. I'll do anything. I'll sign a contract. I'll pay you back when I graduate. Just please. It was a powerful performance. 6 months ago, it would have worked. I would have pulled out the checkbook. I would have fixed it. But I looked at Maya, and I didn't see a daughter. I saw a stranger who had smirked while her mother stripped me of my dignity. I'm not your dad. Ma, I said calmly. Remember, you were very specific about that. I was stupid. Maya cried. I was just mad. I didn't mean it. You meant it. I said, you meant it because you thought there would be no consequences. You thought the money was a natural resource that would never run out. I turned to Elena. She was shaking now, her fists clenched. We were a family, she screamed, drawing the attention of the other customers. How can you just turn it off? How can you look at us and feel nothing? You're a monster. I stood up then. I adjusted my jacket. I looked her dead in the eye. I didn't turn it off. Elena, you did. You defined the relationship. You looked me in the face and told me I was a wallet. You stripped away the love, the fatherhood, the partnership, and you left only the transaction. I took a step closer. Here is the reality check you've been avoiding. Wallets don't have feelings. Wallets don't mourn. Wallets don't love you back. They just hold currency. And once you emptied me of my patience, I closed. You didn't lose a husband or a father. You lost a financing plan. My car pulled up. Gleaming in the sunlight, the attendant waved the rag, signaling it was ready. Mark, please, Elena whispered, grabbing my sleeve. I don't know what to do. I gently removed her hand from my arm, as if removing a piece of lint. That sounds like a problem for Gary. I said, or maybe Mia's biological father can chip in. He's the cool dad, right? Maybe he can pay the tuition with good vibes. I got into my car. The leather smelled new. The engine purred. I put on my sunglasses and rolled up the window. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror. They were standing in the dirty water of the car wash runoff, shrinking smaller and smaller until they were just specks in the distance. I turned on the radio, merged into traffic, and never looked back. The transaction was complete. The wallet was closed forever. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.